Nigeria, a land of opportunities and great potential. Once expected to be an economic world leader. So why hasn't that happened yet? One of Nigeria's greatest economic threats is our insatiable appetite for foreign industrial goods. This is the true culprit behind the shocking erosion of the value of the naira. Yet it appears this habit has followed us even into the literary world. Much has been said about reading culture being poor in Nigeria, but that is not the only problem. What is even more disturbing, however, is that the few Nigerians that do read consume far much more foreign books than indigenous productions. Nigerian authors of both fiction and non-fiction series have complained on many occasions and documented their fears. It turns out they are bitter at the way they're treated by many bookshop owners and publishers. When contacted by a national newspaper, the Daily Independent, the general manager of a popular bookstore in Lagos declared that most of the bookshops preferred to stock foreign books because there was a higher demand for them. The question that bothers Nigerian authors is, while their overseas counterparts are being rewarded with great international honors, why are Nigerians not offering them such recognition in their own country? The Tertiary Education Trust Fund is rising to the occasion to meet this challenge through its interventions, particularly those that place the content component of teaching and learning at the center of Nigeria's public tertiary education process. The Book Development Fund initiative of TETFund is designed to address the dearth of quality, locally published books and journals through revitalizing of professional academic publishing and thereby promoting the consumption of locally published materials in our tertiary institutions. It is also aimed at encouraging production of local books. These are the chronicles of the journey to institutionalize research and development in Nigeria. Hello, and welcome to this edition of TETFund, The Paradigm Shift. I am Stanley Bentu. Book scarcity has reached a crisis proportion in the country, as evident not only in the quality of books available, but also in the quantity of locally produced books. Given the seriousness of the paucity of reading and learning materials in Nigeria's higher educational institutions, the TETFund Book Development Project is designed to reactivate and nurture research and the publication of academic books and journals in hard and electronic forms. Now, what this does is empower tertiary institutions in Nigeria to benefit and contribute to knowledge production nationally and globally. Advancement in science and technology, especially ICT, and the influence of globalization have profoundly transformed the concept and form and also the scope of knowledge production that Nigerian higher educational institutions should be assisted to fully participate in and contribute to generating and disseminating knowledge. To facilitate the implementation of the Book Development Project, the Board of Trustees of TETFund set up the Technical Advisory Group, or TAG, as it's known for short. And its mandate includes collaboratively working with the fund in spelling out the administrative procedures and the frameworks and guidelines for effective book development interventions in tertiary education institutions in the country, and also reviewing the documents whenever the need arises. Now, TAG just held another series of meetings to review books to be published by Nigerian authors, especially at the academic publishing centers across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. Now, we'll have more on that a little bit later, but first, let's learn more about the struggle for more books in Nigeria.
Education, which is the primary function of books, is the basis of all development. It is the basic investment in human beings and therefore one of the most essential factors in human progress. Investment in people is the most effective way for a society to develop, since it helps produce conditions essential to successful modernization. The social importance of books is too obvious to be emphasized. In responding to social needs, books are the most penetrating and free means of communication. The primary social functions of a book are to inspire, inform, and entertain. Beyond this, its larger purposes are to ensure freedom and diversity and contribute to social growth and political stability. No advanced society can function, and no less developed society can advance without making a major intensive use of books. According to Ibidakpo Ketunji, in an article published in The Guardian, books are an indispensable instrument for the economic growth of a country. This is particularly true of the modern technological society, which makes intensive use of the latest scientific and technical know-how contained in functional books. These books are the major means of providing readily accessible and vital information in the crucial developmental fields of science, engineering, medicine, agriculture, and industry. The educational book needs in Nigeria could be grouped into 3. The first comprises educational books, including school books, university books, and books for use in lifelong education. The second is children's books in general, which become apparent in recent years due to the fact that reading habits are acquired at an early stage. The last, which is the widest and the least well-defined, concerns general reading matters for adults. This may mean adults who have reached a high level of education or adults who are newly literate. It can be argued that foreign books are useful for many purposes during an interim period, and for some purposes forever. They present a worldview and give an insight into the culture, the thinking and achievement of other countries, and thus broaden the mental horizon of the reader. It must be noted that foreign books do help the indigenous book industry in its effort to publish its own books. They have a special role in the present technological civilization and rapidly changing world by keeping us in touch with new advances in the fields of science and technology. However, in order to be useful, books must respond to actual needs and interests of the readers. Indigenous book industry is more likely to reflect local ideas, culture, and traditions in the books produced than books produced by foreign book industry. The nearer the books are calibrated to the needs of a specific country, the more effective they become as instruments of development. It is the nation's own thinkers, writers, and artists who can produce books that can enrich its culture, fit it into its own educational system, narrow the gap between its intellectuals and the common man, and ensure a speedy availability of books to its changing needs and environment. This is the objective of TETFund's Technical Advisory Group, a component of the agency's education support services, comprised of some of Nigeria's finest academics who meet periodically to discuss academic manuscripts and book development. Through indigenous book publications using the academic publishing centers, Nigeria will have an abundance of tailor-made intellectual content to fuel our emergence in the global knowledge economy.
To show how determined TETFund is about making sure that we have more made in Nigeria for Nigeria books, the Academic Publishing Centers, or APCs, were established. Now, this is not to be confused with political parties. The objective of the APCs are to address the dearth of indigenously authored and locally produced tertiary level textbooks, together with other related academic publications in Nigeria's tertiary education institutions. 6 public universities across Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones, as well as the FCT, the nation's capital, each has an APC built on its campus. Now, the universities include the Modibo Adama University of Technology, that's Mautech in Adamawa State, which is in the northeast, the Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto, in Sokoto State in the northwest, the University of Lagos, Lagos State, southwest, the Nnamdi Azikiwe University in Anambra State, southeast, and the University of Calabar in Cross River State, south-south. And then we have the University of Abuja in the Federal Capital Territory, alongside Futmina. Now, among the state-of-the-art facilities already provided inside gigantic edifices are cutting-edge machines and equipment for all kinds of academic and textbooks production. The buildings, which will eventually function as university printing presses, also have marketing and editing sections alongside departments and staff offices. Nigerian academic authors do have reason to be optimistic, but it all comes down to proper management and the sustainability of these structures. As I promised earlier, you will be receiving more details about the TAC meeting, which took place at Fraser Suites in Abuja recently, as hosted by TETFund. Let's go there for the details.
It seems as though the sun never sets for the Technical Advisory Group of TETFund, a team whose assignment is aimed at encouraging local production of higher education books by indigenous authors for national and international consumption. The work hardly ever stops for this gathering of diverse stakeholders drawn from universities, with each of the geopolitical zones adequately represented. The National Universities Commission, NUC, the National Board for Technical Education, NBTE, the National Commission for Colleges of Education, NCCE, the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, the Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics, ASUP, the Colleges of Education, Academic Staff Union, COASU, and representatives of the print media. This latest edition of the Book Publication Subcommittee of TAG convened on the 24th of May 2022. On its agenda, the consideration of progress reports on manuscripts in press at the University of Ibadan and those to be published by the Southwest APC at the University of Lagos, North Central APC at the University of Jos Press, Northwest APC at the Ahmadu Bello University Zaria Press, and the Northeast APC at the Modibo Adama University of Technology, Yola. The copy and paste feature on a computer keyboard, especially when applied to content on the internet, is designed for convenience. It has, however, brought with it a dark side. With this feature, plagiarism has been simplified and thus escalated to a level never seen prior to today. The academia has developed a software to combat this menace, and the Book Publication Subcommittee has a protocol to regularly administer plagiarism tests on manuscripts submitted to it for consideration. The Executive Secretary of TETFund, Architect Sonia Chono, paid a surprise visit to the Technical Advisory Group, TAG Book Publication Subcommittee. He was welcomed by the TAG Chairman, Professor Charles Awo, who thanked the Executive Secretary for giving quick approval for the meeting, but expressed concern about the readiness levels of the academic publishing centers.
I want to stress that we see ourselves as representing Nigeria's tertiary education institutions. So we know that if we don't discharge our responsibilities, it will affect the entire system. So we take it extremely seriously. Academic Publishing Center Subcommittee one day and that the Journal Publication Subcommittee, they were to go on visits. I did discuss this with you, sir, that the state of our journals are not just, and you really agree that we need to work in that area. Our primary responsibility has been with the Professional Association Journals. On that, sir, let me just go back a little and thank you for the initiative concerning the adverts and your approval, because I must say, we didn't say it an annual thing, but that is really what it should be. So that came from you indicating the interest. I would never really ask for proposals for journals. Information are always just filtered around. But this would be great, like the way we have done it, requesting for quality manuscripts and also asking journal associations to seize this opportunity and look for support. The Academic Publishing Center's subcommittee met yesterday, a one-day meeting, and primarily to discuss the issue of the Academic Publishing Centers, why we are still at this stage with them, given the fact that this project really started as far back as 2009. So we are not happy, and I'm sure, sir, that you are not happy. So we had very, very useful discussions as to what we think should be done, likely along my discussions with you, sir, to make sure that the APCs, the printing presses are well utilized, fully to their capacity, because that is a real challenge. So we came up with a suggestion that we pass on to you, sir, after this meeting, as to the direction in which we think we should now go.
Responding, Architect Ochono pointed out that it is a collective responsibility to give life to the publication facilities.
I look forward actually to us being able to do much of this in terms of enhancing the benefits, creating this value chain for the limited resources we have, relying as much as possible on the institutions available within the tertiary education sector. Which also brings me to, I know this is not the exact group, the issue of the academic publishing centers. When we had this conversation, besides expressing the regrets that this has taken too long for them to come on board, I felt that it was our collective responsibility to see how we can bring those things. You can't keep such facilities lying idle for nothing. And we shouldn't hold too much to strictures that invariably become encumbrances. I knew they were conceived as regional publishing centers to be owned by a number of institutions within a zone. And if we find it not practicable to run or operate it along those lines, then we should be creative enough to find a model that works. So, and I thought, why don't we even start from the institutions that are playing host to them? Let them give us an idea of how they can make them useful and how they can operationalize them. We can give concessions to the other institutions within the zone, some kind of operational discount, or let them have a hand in the management, at least the policy making, or kind of those. But somebody has to take responsibility. One of the biggest problems you have in Nigeria, when you say it's for a group, nobody cares. But when you hold one person responsible, he will ensure that he's accountable also for it. And that's one of the things I was thinking. The other bit is that, yes, we wanted it to just public only academic either books or theses and so on. And I know that this is not a very viable, if you like, business model.
He also stressed that he is saddened that the last time the fund supported the publication of books was as far back as 2014, even as he expressed his ambition to drive the subcommittee towards boosting the number of published books starting from June of 2022.
With the chair, I did emphasize the importance, we all know, of teaching materials, of learning materials. And despite all the disruptive changes we've seen in terms of curriculum delivery and all the tools that are used, books are central to not only the formation, but also imparting knowledge across generations. And it was saddening that the last time we actually publicly as an institution supported and brought out or published books was in 2014, which is almost 8 years ago. So the first thing I told him was that I want us to be able to, at the end of this year, publish close to 40 books in the 4 tranches, starting from June. I gave you those timelines. And we are happy that the manuscripts are available. We've gone through specialized review, peer review, expert review, and all that is required, and are judged to be relevant for use in our institutions. So there's no reason why we shouldn't take this forward and quickly make them available to improve the quality of teaching and learning.
On his part, the convener of the Book Publication Subcommittee assured of the subcommittee's commitment to meet the mandate.
We know that you are not particularly new to this because you have always been part, of the process. And we want to assure you of our commitment, and loyalty in this particular dispensation. And we'll continue to work hard actually to continue to deliver on our mandate. Thank you very much.
Now, one of TAG's most important role is quality control. This guarantees that any textbook that would earn access to TETFund intervention must pass all integrity tests and be able to hold its own even on international library shelves. After all, the challenge of book publishing doesn't just lie with bookshops alone. According to some reports, publishers often hurriedly produce books and in the process mar their good content. A lot of books are not properly edited and eventually become substandard when compared with foreign products. The taste and desire for foreign textbooks can be further fueled when the extent of decline of Nigerian books is alarming. TETFund finds this unacceptable. It's unacceptable for students in tertiary institutions to depend on dictations from their lecturers and/or handouts. The fund is committed to providing all of the support that it can to TAG and its book publishing subcommittee to overcome this challenge. And that is the paradigm shift. Join us again on the next edition of the program. Until then, thank you for stopping by. Good night.